So listen, and not just with your ears, but with that within you that recognizes truth even before understanding it. What I am about to reveal is not a trick, not a secret hidden in ancient books, nor an empty promise of easy wealth. It is something much deeper, so deep that most fear to face it. You are solely responsible for the fortune that comes to you, and also for the lack of it. And I know this is frightening. It's frightening because it shatters the comfortable illusion that your life is manipulated by external forces, by governments, by luck or misfortune, by opportunities or the lack thereof. No, none of that has the power you imagine. The external world is merely a delayed mirror of the internal state you have chosen to inhabit. The frightening thing isn't wealth itself, nor the money that can come to you like a river finally finding its course. The frightening thing is realizing that all of this has always depended on you, not on your physical effort, not on your struggle, not on your sacrifice, but on what you accept as truth in the silence of your imagination. What you see out there is just the trail, the reflection, the shadow. What you sustain within is the source, the cause, the seed, and this understanding, when it truly sinks in, changes the entire tone of your life. It's like waking from a long, heavy dream and realizing it was never the world that needed to change. It was you. You desire wealth. You desire freedom. You desire money to come to you. But until now, perhaps without realizing it, you have been desiring from the state of one who lacks. And this is the crucial point. You don't manifest what you desire. You manifest what you are. And what you are, deep inside, is what you have assumed as your identity. The person who begs for change remains someone who lacks change. The person who waits for money remains someone who has no money. And reality, obediently, returns only the echo of what you have assumed yourself to be. What I will teach you now is firm, direct, and definitive. You only need to assume once, with true conviction, and reality begins to reorganize itself to obey this new state. Not because there is magic, but because there is law, the same law that has shaped all the events of your life up to this point. And when you finally understand that everything is a state, you realize that nothing external needs to be forced, pushed, or manipulated. Money will come to you not as a prize, but as a natural consequence of the state you have accepted as your own. You only need to hear this once, if you truly listen, if you allow yourself to absorb it, if you don't shy away from the responsibility and power it brings, because once you understand, there's no turning back. And that is the real reason many are afraid. Upon awakening, you will never again be able to blame the world. But you will also never again be its captive. From this moment on, prepare yourself. Because what I am about to reveal is not a theory, it is a mirror. And when you look into it, you will see that the cause of all future wealth and all lost wealth has always been you. Now take a deep breath and allow this truth to find a permanent place within you, because it is the key that opens all the doors you always believed were closed. This is where it all begins, so silently that most people go through their entire lives without noticing. You don't create from desire, but from the identity you choose to inhabit, and that changes everything. Desire is always begging, always pointing to what is missing, always confessing absence. Desire says, I want, but creative consciousness says, I am. And these two phrases belong to completely different worlds. What desires remain separate from the desired object. What assumes is already united with it. When you desire wealth, you reinforce that you are someone who lacks it. When you assume you are someone who already possesses it, the external world rushes to prove it. This is why so many people desire for years and remain stuck in the same scenario. They think emotional intensity is creation, when in reality it is just a cry of lack. Real change happens when you abandon that state of asking and enter the silent state of one who has already received. You need to understand that to assume is not to pretend. It's not mechanically repeating phrases. It's not forcing emotions. To assume is to internally occupy a new position of identity, like someone who finally stands up and takes the place that has always belonged to them. It is a deep, natural, peaceful acceptance, almost so simple that the ego resists it, because the ego likes things complicated. When you assume you are rich, you are not saying you have money in hand right now. You are saying that your identity is already aligned with abundance, with peace, with mastery, with security. And this identity begins to reorganize your entire atmosphere. Decisions change, reactions change, your spontaneous thoughts change, your inner posture changes. It is a subtle shift, yet so powerful that even before any physical manifestation, you feel that something within you has already turned a key. The scriptures have always pointed to this, but few have truly seen it. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it. Not believe they will give it to you, but you have received it already. The past tense is embedded in the command. The law states that you assume the final state, and reality takes care of the means. What keeps people stuck is this eagerness to control how, when, and by whom. But the Creator does not concern himself with the mechanism. He merely inhabits the fulfilled state. And when the identity is coherent, the world, like a servant, hurries to obey. You can try to change external circumstances for years and move nothing, but you only need to change your identity for a few moments, assumed genuinely, and everything begins to reorganize itself. Money doesn't come because you work harder, study more, or sacrifice more. It comes because you finally stopped being someone who waits and became someone who is. And the world always responds to what you are. Not to what you pretend, not to what you desire, only to the state you accept as truth. This is why a single moment of true assumption can be worth more than 1,000 hours of desperate effort. Because effort tries to change the world, assumption changes you, and then the world follows. And now observe something few understand. It is not the phrase you repeat that creates, it is the inner tone with which you live. You can affirm, "I am rich" 1,000 times a day, but if the silent tone within you, the one that emerges when you are distracted, tired, or alone, says, "I don't have," then it is that tone that reality will follow. The inner tone is the decree the universe recognizes. It is not impressed by pretty words, by verbal effort, or by mechanical repetitions. It responds to the inner climate, to the state you truly inhabit when no one is watching. It is that underlying, almost imperceptible feeling that accompanies your gestures, your breath, your small reactions. This tone is the true prayer, the one that never stops, even when your mouth is silent. People get frustrated because they say they are imagining correctly, affirming correctly, visualizing correctly, but they keep getting the same results. And the reason is simple. They do all this on top of an inner tone of lack. The mind repeats one thing, but the entire being vibrates another. It's like trying to plant seeds in dry soil. You might sow the seed, but it finds nowhere to take root. Your inner tone needs to align with what you declare you want. This doesn't mean feeling euphoria or creating artificial emotions. It means adopting a natural, almost obvious mood that it is already yours. It's like putting on clothes and forgetting you're wearing them. The inner tone is when you assume something so naturally that you no longer need to monitor your thoughts every minute. You simply breathe as one who possesses. And the external world always gives clues about the tone you are sustaining. If opportunities flow, if coincidences happen, if people cross your path unexpectedly, your tone is aligned. If delays persist, if doors close, if you feel the weight of repetition, it's a sign that the tone is still being guided by the old state. None of this is punishment. It is merely law. It is the precise response of your inner state. And this should be liberating, never frightening. Because upon perceiving the tone, you find the exact point where the adjustment needs to be made. Not outside, but inside. You don't need to change people, nor the market, nor the country, nor destiny. You only need to change the inner climate you carry between one thought and another. When the tone changes, your life changes. Even before any physical evidence appears, you feel this shift. A new calm, a confidence that doesn't depend on proof, a sense that things are moving in your favor, even if you don't see it yet. This is the sign that the tone has finally changed. And when the tone changes, it's only a matter of time before reality follows, obedient as it always has been. And now you need to understand something that separates those who create with ease from those who remain trapped in the same cycles for years. Appearances have no authority whatsoever unless you grant it to them. The external world is always the last to know, always the last to change, always the delayed reflection of old inner states. Yet most allow what their eyes see to decide what is possible. They look at their bank account and bow before it. They look at debt and treat it as a final decree. They look at momentary lack and conclude that the lack is permanent. And so, without realizing it, they make appearances a god, a false, limited, and blind god, and become servants of the reflection instead of masters of the cause. If you learn to ignore appearances, not with childish stubbornness, but with the serenity of one who knows the law, you become free. Appearances say nothing about what is to come. They only tell what has already been. If today your financial life shows scarcity, it is merely the echo of a previous inner state. It has nothing to do with who you can be now. If you change the state, the echo will inevitably change afterward. It is unavoidable. A shadow cannot choose another form when the light changes, and reality cannot choose another path when the inner state is altered. This is why so many fail at the beginning. They might assume the desired state for a few minutes, for a few hours, but then they look at the external world and say, nothing has changed. And with that simple sentence, they immediately return to the old state. They don't realize that the appearance is still a past event. They want to harvest while the seed is still germinating in the dark. They want to see the fruit before the root. They want the result without allowing time for the invisible formation. And above all, they are afraid of looking crazy for believing in what is not before their eyes. But it is precisely this abandonment of appearances that differentiates the creator from the beggar. When you choose to remain firm, even in the face of the opposite, something grand happens. The world loses the power it had over you. Debt ceases to frighten. Lack ceases to intimidate. Delay ceases to carry weight, because you finally understand that none of this has a life of its own. Everything is merely a reflection of what was previously assumed. And if you maintain the new state, no matter how much the old still tries to manifest, it inevitably dissolves. Not because you fought against it, but because it no longer finds root in you. This is how wealth arrives, not when appearances change, but when you refuse to be guided by them. When you decide that what is true within you is worth more than any number, any scenario, any temporary situation, that is the moment the world silently begins to obey. It is the beginning of the turning point. It is the point where the invisible takes command and the visible sooner or later bows. And now we come to the point that few master but which decides everything. Inner silence. Not the silence outside, but the silence that occurs when you finally stop fighting against your own thoughts. Most try to manifest wealth while carrying a constant inner noise, fear, urgency, comparison, haste, anxiety, doubt. And this noise is so loud that nothing can take root. It's like trying to plant something in soil that is always being stirred, always restless. The seed finds no rest. Imagination finds no space to create. Inner silence doesn't mean you'll never have unwanted thoughts again. It means you stop treating them as masters. They arise, but they don't decide. They speak, but you don't bow. It's when you look within and choose which voice has authority. When you learn to breathe before reacting. When you understand that no sense of urgency is real, it's just a reflection of the old state trying to survive. Inner silence is when you close your eyes and allow yourself to inhabit a simple, natural, completed final scene. And, in that instant, the entire world loses its power to pressure you. Because you are no longer reacting, you are creating. This is why a single scene imagined with tranquility is worth infinite hurried repetitions. When the mind is agitated, you imagine desire like someone trying to grasp something. When the mind is silent, you imagine like someone who already possesses. And the difference between these is everything. Inner silence is the fertile ground where assumption takes root. It is there that identity solidifies. It is there that I am replaces I want. It is there that the impossible loses its power and becomes only a matter of time. Many try to use their imagination while their body is tense and their heart is racing. This is not creation. This is disguised despair. True creation happens when the body rests, when the face softens, when the entire being feels complete. Even if only for a few seconds, these seconds are enough. It is in silence that the new identity is established. And once established, there is no hurry, no insistence, no struggle. Silence is the place where you become who you wish to be, and the world merely follows, obediently. Therefore I tell you, learn to withdraw, learn to pause. Learn to listen to that space within you where everything is possible, because everything already is. This silence is not empty. It is pure creation. It is the cradle of the new state. It is there that wealth forms before it exists. And when you return from that place carrying within you the quiet certainty of one who has already received, no external scenario has the power to take that from you. Silence is your throne, and he who sits upon it reigns over reality. And now we come to the movement that no one sees, but which decides absolutely everything. The inner movement. It is not external action, not physical efforts, not chasing, asking, insisting, convincing. The movement that transforms your life is the one that happens invisibly, on the intimate stage of consciousness where only you and the law exist. When you assume a new state, something begins to move within you. And this movement is so subtle that if you are not attentive, you might even doubt that anything is happening. But it is precisely there that everything begins. The inner movement is the change of posture, tone, and interpretation. It's when you start reacting like someone who already possesses, even before physically possessing. Do you notice the difference? It's not acting. It's not theater. It's naturalness. It's when you look at a situation and instead of thinking I don't have, you think this is organizing itself in my favor. It's when a bill arrives and instead of feeling fear, you feel mastery. It's when a challenge arises and instead of shrinking, you feel that this is just part of the path that is already conquered internally. This movement is not visible to anyone, but it changes absolutely everything, because it alters the center from which you live. And this inner movement begins to create a field around you. People start treating you differently. Opportunities appear without warning. Ideas emerge spontaneously. Paths open where there were once blockages. None of this is coincidence. It is merely the reflection of the new identity you have accepted as your own. When you change within, the world must respond, not by magic, but by law. Reality has no choice but to catch up to the state you occupy. It has always been this way, it will always be this way. The inner movement also silences the need to prove anything to anyone. You stop seeking validation, stop trying to convince, stop demanding signs. Because one who is doesn't ask for confirmation, one who is doesn't await applause, one who is simply lives in the assumed state. And this naturalness is the greatest power that exists. Nothing is more magnetic than someone who doesn't force, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, because that person has become the center. And everything around responds to their direction. This is why when the inner movement is aligned with the state of wealth, money begins to flow in unexpected ways, not because you worked harder than everyone else, but because you are in tune with the consciousness that attracts, organizes, directs. Wealth begins to come to you as if it were inevitable, as if it had been looking for you for a long time. And in truth, it was. It was just waiting for you to become someone capable of receiving it. This inner movement is the signature of the new state. It is the sign that you are no longer trying to create, but are already living as one who has created. And when that happens, the rest is just consequence. So now breathe for a moment and perceive what truly happened within you as these words were spoken. It wasn't just a speech, it was a call, a reminder, a silent summoning for you to finally abandon the old, worn-out, limited identity and assume the one that has always awaited you. The identity of one who creates, who determines, who commands. The identity of one who already is. You are not here to beg for change. You are not here to try to convince life that you deserve something. You are here to remember that everything you seek already exists within you and always has, merely waiting for you to occupy the corresponding state. From this moment on, no longer look at the world as a beggar. Do not reach out to circumstances asking for pity. Do not expect external signs to reassure you. All of this is illusion. You now know the truth. The world bows before the state you sustain, never the other way around. And if today you decide with firmness and serenity that you are someone who possesses, someone who attracts, someone who manifests with naturalness, then all of reality will need to reorganize itself to obey your new identity. Assume the wealth within you before you see it outside. So assume abundance before you touch it. Assume freedom before you physically live it. And do this with the quiet confidence of a creator who does not depend on evidence, because the true evidence is the state. When you inhabit the right state, the rest becomes inevitable. Stop asking, stop trying, stop negotiating with yourself. Simply declare in silence with conviction, I already am what I choose to be. And walk as such, speak to yourself as such, react to the world as such. Reality will follow, because it always does. And when money begins to flow, when doors open, when impossible coincidences happen, you won't say it was a miracle, nor luck, nor destiny. You will know, you will recognize, you will remember. All of this was born within you the moment you chose to assume. From now on, may your life be living proof that the law never fails, and that wealth is not something distant. It is merely the natural shadow of the state you choose to inhabit. Everything already is. Everything is already within. No external force can impede what you most deeply accept as truth.